In the beginning, he won't truly feel the weight of losing you, not yet. His pride won't let him. Instead, he'll tell himself a story that shields him from the immediate sting of regret. He'll convince himself this was bound to happen, that things had run their course, or that someone else will come along who understands him better. Maybe he even walks away feeling sure of himself, thinking he's just reclaimed his freedom. If he was the one who ended it, he might even feel powerful, like he made the right choice. And if you were the one who left, he'll tell himself it's your mistake, not his. That's not coming from real emotion, it's a shield, a mental defense. His thoughts are working overtime to protect him from the truth, because to admit that he lost a genuine woman would mean admitting a deep mistake he doesn't want to face. So he keeps himself distracted. He fills the silence with noise, the loneliness with people, the space you used to fill with anything or anyone that helps him avoid looking inward. And this is where it gets interesting. On the outside, he might look just fine, maybe even great. He posts pictures, stays social, surrounds himself with people who support his version of the story. He throws himself into work, hobbies, the gym, anything that keeps the truth away. And this part can be the hardest to see, because from a distance it seems like he's totally unfazed, but that's just the mask of someone running from their own feelings. What he doesn't realize is that denial doesn't last forever. There's only so long he can keep telling himself the same lies before the cracks start to show. Because while he's trying to numb himself with shallow wins, he hasn't yet faced the hardest moment. The one where he's finally alone with his thoughts. And that moment always comes. At first, it's just a flicker. A memory of you flashes through his mind at a random time. A joke only you two would have laughed at. A moment where he instinctively grabs his phone to send you a message, then stops, reminded that he can't anymore. Or worse, that he shouldn't. He brushes it off. Tells himself it's just habit, nothing more. But soon, the holes in his own story begin to appear. The people he surrounded himself with don't add the same meaning to his life. The freedom he was so excited about starts to feel hollow. The validation he's been getting doesn't last. But your absence, that stays. That's when the change starts. He starts to ask himself questions. Did he walk away too fast? Did he miss how special you were because he was too busy protecting his pride? Were the things that annoyed him actually the things that made you different? Slowly, the story he told himself begins to crumble and reality sets in. The biggest mistake people make when they lose someone valuable isn't always leaving. It's misjudging how that loss will feel in the long run. In the moment, it's easy to believe the feelings will fade, that life will go on, that someone new will come along. But a real woman doesn't just fill space in a man's world. She lifts it up. She affects him in ways he doesn't even see until she's no longer around. He didn't understand it at first because he was used to you being there. Your patience, your support, your deep emotional care. It was something he assumed would always be nearby. But what he missed was that these traits weren't just part of you, they were gifts you chose to share. And when he no longer has access to them, when he realizes you're not easily replaced, that's when the true emotional weight sets in. Here's the truth. That realization doesn't always come quickly. It might take weeks, months, even years. But when it hits hard. Because suddenly, that relationship he took for granted isn't just a memory. It becomes a benchmark, something he silently compares every new connection to. And more often than not, nothing measures up. But by the time he finally understands what he let slip away, something else has changed. You. Because while he was stuck pretending, you were changing. You weren't sitting still, waiting for him to realize your worth. You were growing, healing, becoming a stronger, more confident version of yourself. And that's the moment he really loses you. Not when the relationship ended, but when he sees that you don't need him to confirm what you always knew, that you were, and always have been, one of a kind. So if you've been in this spot, watching someone walk away and act like it means nothing, don't let that fool you. The real test isn't how fast someone moves on. It's how deeply they feel the void of what they once had. And when a man loses a woman who was real with him, that space she left behind doesn't disappear. It stays. It stretches until one day he finally understands. But by then, it's far too late. At first, he won't see the depth of what he's lost because everything on the surface feels the same. His routine doesn't change immediately. His world still looks intact. He keeps telling himself it's all good, maybe even better. And for a little while, he believes that. But something feels different, even if he can't put his finger on it yet. When a man loses a woman who truly mattered, the shift isn't always loud. Life continues. He wakes up, goes to work, sees friends. But the absence of your energy, your influence, your presence, it starts to echo. He might even feel relieved at first. If there were fights, he's glad they're over. If there was stress, he tells himself he's free. He frames the breakup like it was just the natural ending. He convinces himself that someone new will fit more easily. But what he doesn't expect is how empty things start to feel. Maybe it's the silence that follows him home. Maybe it's how his successes feel less exciting without you to share them with. But the reality of the loss doesn't crash in all at once. It builds, slowly, like a shadow that grows longer as the light fades. That's when he begins comparing. He meets new people, maybe even dates again, and at first it's fun, the excitement of something fresh, the comfort of distraction. But eventually, he starts noticing the difference. The new people don't bring the same emotional depth. The conversations aren't as meaningful. They don't challenge him the way you did. They don't understand him without words the way you used to. Suddenly what once felt normal now feels shallow. What once seemed replaceable now feels rare. And then, something he never expected happens. He starts missing the very things he once found difficult. Your honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. Your emotional depth that pushed him to look deeper. Your way of understanding things he never even said out loud. Those weren't flaws, they were strengths. And now they're missing. This realization doesn't come with a big dramatic moment. It comes in small waves. A dinner that feels empty. A moment of weakness when he wants to call but knows he can't. A reminder that what he had with you wasn't just love, it was growth. And the painful part isn't just that he misses you, it's that he misses the man he was becoming when he was with you. Because a real woman doesn't just give affection, she brings vision. She pushes a man to be better, not through pressure, but through belief in his potential. And that kind of belief, that kind of support, it's not easy to find again. So when he looks back, it's not just memories he sees, it's moments that shaped him. A version of himself that was more focused, more alive, more grounded when he was with you. And that's the part that cuts the deepest. Not just that he lost you, but that he lost the part of himself that only existed because of you. By the time he sees all this, you've already moved on. You're no longer the woman waiting for him to realize what he had. You've stepped into a stronger version of yourself, one who no longer needs his approval, one who's outgrown the space he used to hold in your life. And that's the real heartbreak for him. Not just that you're gone, but that you thrived without him. He always thought you'd be there if he ever changed his mind. But now, he sees you shining in ways he never imagined. And that's when it really hits. Because when a man loses a real woman, it's not just about regret. It's about recognizing that what he had wasn't ordinary. It was life-changing, and now it's gone. There's something quietly painful about how loss works. At first, it feels like nothing's changed. He moves through life like usual, convinced time will take care of the rest. But then, reality begins to settle in. Not in some dramatic way. Not all at once. It's quiet. a soft realization that begins in the background, something he brushes off at first, but it keeps returning, and it always shows up when he least expects it. Maybe it's when he's sitting among a crowd of people surrounded by voices, yet feeling oddly alone. Maybe it's when he's out on a date with someone new and notices the talk is shallow, the connection feels forced, and he's laughing at the right times, but feels nothing real. Maybe it's when he's scrolling through social media late at night and suddenly sees a picture of you living your life, shining with a confidence he barely recognizes, like you never even looked back. That's when it truly hits him. See, most men think that the pain of loss comes instantly, that when things end, it's the woman who feels everything first. The one who mourns, reflects, and holds the weight of what's gone. And in many ways, that's real. A true woman does feel deeply. She cries, she overthinks, she sits with the pain because she understands she has to face it to move on. But the thing about real women is they do move on. They don't stay trapped in the hurt. They don't sit around waiting for someone to undo the harm they heal. They grow. And then they rise, and that's when everything flips. Because while she's been working on herself, growing, healing, building a stronger life without him, he's been avoiding the silence, finding distractions, telling himself he did the right thing until one day he no longer believes it, because now he sees the difference. He realizes he hasn't really moved forward. He's only been delaying, stuck in a loop of avoidance, and now time has caught up to him. And the hardest part, he realizes, is that he meant something to you in a way he might never mean to anyone else again, because a real woman doesn't love in pieces. She loves fully, deeply, with an emotional depth that most people can't handle. And for a man who's felt that, it's unforgettable. He begins to remember the little things. The way you looked at him when you were really there. The way you listened when he talked about things that mattered. The way you saw him in a way that made him feel known, respected, appreciated. And now he feels what's missing. Because what many men don't realize until it's too late is that attraction can be found almost anywhere, but true emotional connection, the kind that's rare and real, is something entirely different. And that's when he finally gets what he's lost. Not just any woman, but a woman of depth, a woman who knew her value, a woman who, despite everything, offered him a chance to meet her on her level. And when he didn't, or wouldn't, she let him go. And that's what really unsettles him, because he believed you would wait, that if he ever wanted to come back, the door would still be open, that no matter what, the option would remain. But now, as he watches you from afar, succeeding, glowing, moving ahead in a way he never saw coming, he understands something that shakes him deep inside. The option is gone. You didn't just get over him, you moved up, and now he's stuck carrying the weight of what might have been. See, most men don't fear losing a woman in the moment. What they dread is realizing too late that they let go of someone who made them better, someone who stood by them, helped build with them, believed in their future before they could see it for themselves. And then kind of love is gone. There's no replacing it. So now he's left with the harshest truth of all. Not just that he lost you, but that he lost the version of himself he was when he was with you. The man who felt driven, supported, able to be more. And that's a kind of loss that stays long after you stop thinking about him. There's a moment, a defining shift that happens when a man realizes he lost a real woman. It doesn't always come with drama. It's not always a big awakening where he suddenly sees everything clearly. No, it's slower, more subtle. It sneaks up on him in moments he doesn't expect. In the beginning, he tells himself he'll be fine, that he'll get over it just like before, that it wasn't that serious. Maybe he even believes he'll meet someone else, someone who doesn't question him, someone who lets things slide, someone who's easier to handle. But then something starts to feel off. He begins to feel disconnected, not just from other women, but at least Christian himself. There's a discomfort, a restlessness he can't name. It's in the way conversations feel more hollow now. It's in the way he laughs at the right times, but doesn't feel the joy behind it. It's in the way he realizes that the thrill of new things doesn't mean much if there's no depth. And then memories begin returning, not all at once, but piece by piece. It's how you used to see him, really see him, not just as fun or temporary, but as someone worth investing in. It's the way you trusted his potential, even when he couldn't see it himself, the way you pushed him not to criticize, but to help him grow. And that's when the regret starts to take hold, because the truth is, a real woman doesn't just take up space in a man's world. She transforms it. She lifts it. She brings something real, not just company, but meaning. And when a man has felt that he knows he can't go back, he might try, he might distract himself with things, people that feel good in the moment, but don't truly fill the space. But in time, he faces one of the hardest realities a man can face. Attraction is easy to find. Real connection is rare. And he let that go. What makes this regret even more painful isn't only the loss, it's that now it's not his to fix. Because a real woman doesn't freeze her life while he figures himself out. She doesn't wait with the door open hoping he'll return. She moves forward. She grows beyond him, and he realizes that even if he wanted to return, he wouldn't be meeting the same woman. She's no longer who she was, because she's not standing still. She's evolving, becoming more, and this deeper truth hits him. She was the real thing, not in a way that means he was never enough, but in a way that forces him to see he had something rare, something that could have made his life better, something he took for granted. And now he has to accept that someone else will step into that role. And that's what cuts the deepest, because suddenly it's not just about losing you, it's about seeing someone else experience what he used to have, watching another man be encouraged by you, supported by you, challenged and loved by you, and he can't undo any of it. That's what regret truly is. It's not just sorrow for what's gone. It's the ache of knowing it didn't have to be this way, but now it can't be any other way. So while you're out there growing, becoming more of who you were always meant to be, he's left with one thought that keeps echoing. She was special, and I let her slip away. There comes a time when everything becomes clear. The distractions lose their appeal. The excuses sound empty. The noise fades, and only truth remains. This is when he stops avoiding and begins to truly feel it. He told himself he was better off, that this was right. He might have even said it was his decision. I needed space. I wasn't ready. It wouldn't have worked, but now with space and time, he sees the truth. He didn't just lose a relationship. He lost you. And that kind of loss is unique because it's not just about love. It's about losing someone who brought something meaningful into his life, someone who gave love with depth, who saw him beyond the outside, who pushed him, not for her benefit, but for his growth. That kind of love doesn't fade, it stays, and it changes a man in ways he never predicted. Because the truth is, it's not just the love that makes someone unforgettable, it's who they became when they were with you. And that's the part that hits him hardest with you. He felt something different, not just affection, not just desire, but a sense of direction, a sense that he mattered, that he was becoming better because of you, that he had a reason to improve. And now, without you, he's forced to see that. No one else brings that out in him. He might date others, he might be around them, but there's a big difference between being with someone and being inspired by them. And once a man has felt that kind of inspiration, nothing less feels right. That's what surprises him the most. He assumed the pain would pass, that he'd adjust. But what he didn't expect was that when a woman like you leaves, she doesn't just leave behind space. She leaves behind a new standard. And that standard follows him. It's in the way he compares every new conversation, every spark, every moment with what he had before. It's in the way he sees that surface level attention isn't enough, that depth is what makes things meaningful, that a connection without growth is empty. And so the regret builds, but the most painful truth of all is knowing he can't return, because while he's been frozen in his guilt and regret, you've been changing. You've been healing, becoming even stronger. And that's when he finally understands that losing you wasn't just about losing love. It was about losing a chance at something truly rare, something amazing. And now the memory of that lives with him, not just in sadness, but in knowing someone else will now see the best of you. And in the end, he's left with a choice. He can either let this loss trap him in the past, or he can finally become the man he was always capable of being, not for you, but for himself. Because the real tragedy wasn't losing a good woman. It was not being the man ready to keep her. And by the time he becomes that man, you're already gone.